Hi, friends. Before we get into the show, we wanted to ask that you rate, review, and subscribe to The Breakout. It's quick, it's super easy, and it's a really important way to help people find us and get to hear these inspirational stories. We really appreciate it. Now let's get to the show.
I'm 33 years old and I can't feel my legs. And I have 4 orthopedic surgeons tell me this is going to be your new normal and you're never going to be able to do your life as you have before. And so at that moment, I remember thinking, no, absolutely not. You're wrong.
When it comes to her health, accepting the status quo has never been in the cards for Tatiana Miller. As a teen, Tatiana saw multiple doctors to find help for her autoimmune disease and chronic pain. For years, she struggled to find answers, studying holistic medicine and practicing yoga, but her body kept degenerating, until one day, a bad fall left her paralyzed.
In this episode, Tatiana shares how her refusal to accept her doctor's prognosis and her journey to recovery inspired her to found RX for Life, a health consulting business that helps bridge the gap between Western healthcare and holistic medicine. It's a fascinating discussion where we dive into how we approach healthcare and why it's critical that we rethink it. Welcome to The Breakout, a show about smashing through life's little boxes and forging your own path. I'm Dr. Carrie Ulrich.
And I'm Kelly Gunther. Carrie and I are people and change experts, best friends, and business partners. We've spent more than 25 years helping employees and leaders change. With love and a lot of laughs, we're here to empower you to live life on your terms. Our methods may seem a bit unconventional, but trust us, they will change your life.
Let's be real for a second. We know change can sometimes be scary. Heck, it even scares us. But staying the same can be even scarier. On The Breakout, we prove that you can escape expectations. And best of all, we show you how. Welcome, Tatiana. Let's start as we always start. Tell us what you broke away from and how you help others break out.
Thank you for having me. So I broke away from not letting circumstances define who I am or the outcomes in my life. And that is exactly what I help or try to help others do. I think there's a lot of different circumstances, from diagnosis to maybe disappointments to maybe grief, loss, all the things that come with life being a roller coaster, that sometimes we let that become who we are or define our outcome. But I have proven myself, and I see others every single day prove that you don't have to let that be the case.
I love that. And you do a lot of work with health and well-being, and that began when you were very young. So tell us about your early years and your health struggles.
Sure. So I didn't realize when I was a teenager that I was starting on this journey of chronic illness and chronic pain. As many people with autoimmune disease, got bounced from doctor to doctor. They didn't know if it was cancer. They didn't know what it was. So I was told many things, which then translates oftentimes in the path of chronic pain or autoimmune to thinking that something is wrong with me mentally. Like, am I making it up? Do I really feel this? Am I really in pain? So then that turned into, of course, me starting to develop anxiety and really doubting what my body was telling me and what I was communicating that I was perceiving. When I was 17 years old, it was my first week of college. My sister got killed in a drunk driving accident. And that, I think, more than my beginning of my path with physical health issues, I think that for me was one of the most pivotal moments in my life for learning to deal with pain or grief that never leaves you. And, at any moment in life, things can change. And we always have to be grateful for what is working in our life.
So when did you start feeling that things weren't right with your own body? You were fairly young when you started to feel this way, right?
Yeah, so it started to happen when I was 14. I remember I started having all kinds of being tired, foggy brained, all the things that come with lupus and autoimmune. My dad, he was a big reader. And he always had all these shelves of books. And I was always asking my dad, like, there has to be another way. This can't be, pain and suffering. And he started handing me all of these philosophy books and Eastern psychology books. And like, I was reading, Wayne Dyer and Deepak Chopra, and I was 14, 15 years old. And I think that really was the beginning of who I am today. It has allowed me now to be the person that I am with my clients.
So you had some autoimmune when you were 14. You start reading these philosophical
Yes.
books at 14, which is amazing. But then you talked about your sister and then the tragic accident. And yet still that's such a turning point. But then you had another turning point when you're in your 30s.
It's never just one thing, unfortunately. It's sort of the one thing is the preparation for all the other things that are coming. I actually didn't get a formal diagnosis until I was in my late 20s. I was already married and had a baby. Like the diagnosis for autoimmune can be anywhere from 5 to 10 years. Same with depression. The average diagnosis of depression is 8 years, and there's a reason for that. There's a lack of understanding. There's convoluted things. There's the gaslighting that sometimes happens in the medical system, the lack of active listening that a lot of our practitioners are not taught to have. So yeah, I didn't get a formal diagnosis till I was an adult. So the lack of diagnosis, the continuous degeneration of my body, and I rode horses. I love horses. Horses were very therapeutic for me. So I would ride horses for therapy and for fun. And this is in my mid-20s. So I didn't realize that I had all this stuff going on with my bones and lupus and everything because I didn't have a formal diagnosis. But I had a bad fall where my horse rolled over me. And I started having these horrible back issues and pain. And I just attributed it to like, well, I fell and this is life. And, I'm working and I'm a busy mom. And like we all do, we say, I'll take care of it later, or it'll go away, or I'm just going to take some Tylenol, or, Anyway, I'm teaching yoga. My legs come out from under me. From the time I'm standing, demoing the pose to the moment I hit the floor is, 4 seconds. But I knew deep in my soul that I couldn't feel my legs and that I was paralyzed. I'm 33 years old and I can't feel my legs. And I have 4 orthopedic surgeons tell me this is going to be your new normal and this is how you're always going to be. And you're never going to be able to do your life as you have before. So one of my main things that I try to tell people is erase always and never from your vocabulary, because the present moment and how we feel in the present moment and what we're being told right now is not going to be the same tomorrow or the day after or the after. And again, at that point, I said I trusted myself and my intuition, but I still had all of this, damage from my autoimmune and not getting a diagnosis and doubting myself. And am I in pain? Am I not in pain? And so I remember thinking, no, absolutely not. You're wrong. Like this cannot be my outcome, right? And so I couldn't get any doctor in the United States to want to help me. I'm from Mexico City. I ended up having to go back to Mexico City to work with a doctor that my grandfather had been friends with and my father had been friends with that said, I think I can help you. There's this surgery that I do that, very few people do. And so I had to move. I had to leave my children. I had to leave my job. I had to leave everything and try to create the outcome that I knew was mine. And I did, I'm walking, moving, stronger than ever. Long, hard process. But again, I think a process that has allowed me now to go out there and tell people, like, don't give up.
It could have been very different if she had listened to what conventional or Western medicine had to say, but she was willing to push herself because she didn't buy it. There was just something in her that said, this is not quite right. And having that intuition and believing it and having people around you trust you, and that comes through for her. I mean, she has so much passion for this topic, obviously, because she has experienced it.
That's exactly what I was thinking, Kelly. How many people, especially women with autoimmune disease, are told when we go to the doctor that we're hysterical or too emotional or it doesn't happen? And Tatiana had the support system. And I just was thinking about the kids who don't have that, who instead have a system of friends, family, parents, whatever, saying, it is in your head. You are crazy. Just shut up. And the doctor said this, and the doctor's the authority. So that's it. And then it comes out in negative ways. And so I just thought she is such a good advocate for herself, but also she had such a strong network of people supporting her that if she did not have that, the story might have been very different. Where do you think you attribute that strength to you had to leave everything to go to Mexico City to make this happen? How did you stay strong, and where did you find that strength?
I really appreciate your question, because I think a lot of us don't realize our capacity until we're faced with having to bring it out. But this is why I harp on talking to people about resilience, because the more that we start to work on learning how to adapt and be flexible and practicing not letting ourselves get stuck, the more we're ready for those moments. So holistic medicine is all about being proactive versus reacting to symptoms and then jumping into a crisis. Like, holistic medicine is preventative. How are you caring for yourself so that you don't get sick? How are you focusing on what your thoughts are focusing on so that you don't attract, those negative things you don't want? I look back and I say, I feel like I needed to go through those things in order to be who I am today.
At who you are today, I mean, you started this company, RX for Life, and already I can hear in you, Tatiana, that proactive, which is our medical system in the States, is highly reactive. It's all symptom-based, and holistic is still, even now, still kind of, woo-woo, you're holistic.
Not only that, but in Texas where I live, right, it's not real. And I'm like, it sure is real. I have a graduate degree in it, and that's why people come to see me. So I call myself a bridge maker between Western mental health and physical health and Eastern health, physical health and psychological health, because there's a place for both, right? I needed Western medical help when I had my back surgery. I needed that. But I could have prevented a lot of my pain and suffering if I had used my holistic medicine training to really listen to my body. So I think there's a place for both.
Let's go back, educate folks who don't really know what holistic medicine or mental health or healthcare. Tell us a little bit more what that actually means and how you're bridging it.
So I called my company RX, prescriptions for life, because the true prescriptions for life are learning how to be proactive. So before we had pharmaceuticals, before we had what we now know as medicine, which is Western medicine, we had the science of life, and we had all these people that lived in tune with nature, and we had people that understood what biorhythms were, and we had these people that understood that everything we need to be healthy is around us and inside of us. And we are so out of tune now with ourselves that we rely on quick fixes rather than a lifestyle to be healthy and to be well. So holistic medicine says that the moment that we forget our true nature is the moment disease starts to breed in our mind, in our body, in our spirit. And the premise of holistic medicine is to say, what are the things we need to do in order to be well? And be well doesn't mean that your body is never going to be sick. It just means that when we are sick, we have to backtrack and get to the root of the issue. So when I was working on the pain team, I was the only non-pharmaceutical practitioner. I would have the neurologist say, there's no reason for this person to have had a migraine for 2 weeks. They're either faking it or I have no idea what's going on. And then they would send me in. And I remember this one patient in particular, and they couldn't tolerate light. They didn't want to talk. And I just went in there and I said, hi, how are you? And then I said, can you tell me a little bit about what was happening before your migraine started?
Great question.
And they looked at me and they said, oh, well, that's when I started having an affair with my best friend's girlfriend. That's holistic medicine, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, that's holistic medicine, right? Your body keeps a score. your body is your biology, and your actions, your thoughts, your emotions, and the things you do in your everyday life are going to be reflected in your physical health. And that's not to say that I caused my autoimmune or that we caused,
Right.
that's not to say that. It's just to say that when you look at the history of autoimmune, for example, you see that it is passed on typically through women. And it has to do, when you look at the histories, the biographical histories of these families, there's trauma, there's suffering, there's Holocaust survivors, there's all of these things that our bodies have adapted to in order to survive and in order to deal with the cultural and environmental circumstances that have surrounded them. And then we pass that on to our children. So when we take the time, holistic medicine teaches us to heal ourselves with our thoughts, with our emotions, with our lifestyle, we're therefore breaking chains and patterns and healing our children. I see this on a daily basis with my clients. And so we not only look at like what herbs should you take. Yes, that's a part of holistic medicine, but more importantly, it all starts with your energy systems. I mean, our body is a huge electrical board. And I am a scientist, I'm a researcher, because when you understand energy, you understand that energy cannot be created or destroyed, right? It can only be transformed. So then we start to understand these findings that holistic medicine is forcing down the throat of Western medicine. Like, hey, anger and resentment is linked to breast cancer. Shocking, right? I wonder why.
We'll get back to the interview after this quick break.
On the Breakout, Carrie and I celebrate big changes and small shifts. Only about 10% of us are really self-aware, but 90% of us think we are. Without self-awareness, change is tough. And if you don't know what box you're in, you can't break out of it. That's where we come in.
We are coaches and consultants that help you dig into change. We've spent our lives breaking through expectations, and we've devoted our careers to showing people how to do the same. We're here to help you demolish the story you've built around yourself to reveal the true you. Then the real fun begins.
And by fun, we mean helping you figure out your why and taking action to forge a fresh path. Connect with us at abrachigroup.com.
Tatiana, I love that you're speaking, Kelly, our language, because Kelly and I had a very big change in the way we dealt with the healthcare system here and went more holistic and had a different framework and a doctor who talked to us for an hour at a time. What? Not 6 minutes because we're sick. But like you said, taking a full hour and looking at everything and how can we proactively maintain our health. So you're speaking our language, Tatiana.
Sometimes I'm with my clients and patients for 2 hours. If that is what is needed, then that is what needs to happen. And we've lost that approach. My big thing is the educational system is very much tied to the healthcare system, because when we're not teaching young people to be critical thinkers, how do we expect them to seek preventative health, to know how to ask the right questions, to not just be like, oh, okay, I don't feel good. You want me to pop these pills and then I have to take them for the rest of my life? Like, no. That is not the correct way to help people be healthy. That is creating sick people. That is not creating healthy people. And there's so many things at play. Like, I'll give you an example. When I had my paralysis, I had health insurance, very good health insurance, very expensive health insurance. And do you know what they told the orthopedic surgeons? They said, she needs to go to pain management for 6 months before we'll pay for her surgery. And the doctors were like, she can't feel her legs. What pain are you talking about? Like, what are you even talking about? And that for me was a huge betrayal. And I saw it all the time with my patients, where they needed a certain type of treatment. And because of their insurance, they're forced to go another route when that is really hurting all of us.
I could for hours talk about this, but I know we want to talk about the beautiful work that you do with your clients in emotional intelligence.
Yeah, so emotional intelligence is a big piece of holistic medicine and holistic healthcare, because I'll give you a great example. I have a client right now, and her doctor referred her to me, and he said she keeps passing out, but there's no reason for her to pass out. And so I started talking to her. We worked a lot on emotional intelligence, and she was able to figure out that she was passing out because she was being triggered from her trauma. And so through emotional intelligence, we learn, one, to trust the messages our body are sending us, two, to self-reflect and to allow ourselves to say, okay, this is icky. This is ugly. I'm not comfortable with this, but if I don't deal with it, it's going to get stored somewhere in my body, and it's going to keep a score and make me pay for it in some way or another. Stomach aches and headaches especially tend to be 85% of the time psychosomatic. They're not real physical issues. Ulcers are the same. Gastro issues are the same. A lot of autoimmune issues can be managed because stress is a huge factor. I had a woman this morning tell me, hey, I really need to come see you because I thought I was having heart issues, and I went to 3 cardiologists and they all told me, you need to deal with your stress. What you're having is anxiety attacks. And she was like, I don't think I am. I really think I'm having heart issues. And I said to her, anxiety and panic attacks mimic having a heart attack. So it's your body basically telling you, we're not getting enough oxygen and we cannot continue with this literal heartache that you have. Whatever the stressor is becomes a heartache. And I use emotional intelligence again so that my patients don't have to rely on me and come and do, every week talk it out, but rather they now have the tools and the resources to understand how to thrive on their own.
As a society, we've very much marginalized holistic medicine or Eastern medicine. Like, this is an unbelievable thing to most people in the American healthcare system because we think there is absolutely just one way to do it. And so there are ways to not be into this really devastating system that in the United States is the number one reason for bankruptcy is medical.
Especially when it goes against you taking care of yourself, because in a corporation, an insurance company saying from on high that you need to do 6 months of pain management when really she can't even feel her legs. Like, that's outrageous. And that's 6 months of misery. That's 6 months of being dependent on drugs. That's 6 months of being unable to really be with your family, to just be living your life. And it does absolutely make me want to flip a table.
First of all, I love that Gunther's going to flip a table. And I was just thinking, Kelly, of the pain management for 6 months. They get her hooked on opioids for those 6 months and then go, why is she on opioids? Goodness, we have a rehab that we can send her to and get her hooked on more stuff. So I'm glad Tatiana's out there helping people. And there are people out there that are really trying to flip that model.
The passion that you speak about the subject of holistic healthcare and well-being is certainly inspiring for sure. And the clarity in which you speak about it too, I think is particularly moving. For someone who's maybe interested in exploring more or finding someone that is a holistic practitioner such as yourself, do you have recommendations on how people can go about finding someone, a practitioner? Is there any advice that you would give to someone who is looking to embark on a healthier way to live their life?
This is a really important thing. I've had many clients that come to me and say, I've been going for 3 years or a year to this person and I haven't seen any changes. And the reason why is exactly what Carrie brought up. And that's that anytime somebody wants to get you into a model where you're dependent on someone else, that's a red flag. Right? That's not a true holistic practitioner. So anytime they're trying to get you into a monthly model of like, be on this herb or, do this treatment with it. No, that's a red flag. Like, that's sick care. That's not patient care. Also, there's a lot, unfortunately, of what I call the McDonald's holistic practitioners that will take a weekend workshop and then say like, I'm a holistic coach or I'm a practitioner. And that's not to say that they might not be talented or wanting to help, but you really want to make sure that you're going to somebody that has a proper training and a proper education. I actually had to study a lot of Western medicine. The program that I was in had a partnership with UCLA where we actually looked at what physicians were looking at so that we could understand, okay, what's this perspective and what do I need to do with it? So we learned to read labs. We learned, all the things that Western medicine uses, but then we also looked at it from the holistic perspective, which is a whole other training. And so I would say, really do your research on the training the person has, on are they trying to make you be what I call like chained to them. But I think one of the most important things is do an interview with that person. When someone reaches out to me, I always tell them, hey, let's chat. Let's see if we're a good fit. I'm always going to tell you the truth. And my clients will tell you that I push them to grow, but that's my job, right? My job is to push you to make decisions and choices that are going to take you closer to how you want to feel instead of further away to how you want to feel. And I can't do that by coddling you. I can only do that by telling you the truth and by challenging you, which means sometimes I have to fire clients. If you're sitting in my office or we're having a call every week and every week you're doing the same thing and you don't want to change, you're not committed to your health. So you want to make sure that the person's approach and their way of doing things is going to be something that you want to do. Holistic medicine is about the long run, right? It's the marathon. It's not the sprint. So if you're not willing to do the marathon, which is to create a lifestyle that's going to keep you from getting symptoms, then you're not ready for holistic medicine.
Yeah, you get in what you put out, or what you put out what you, whatever. What is the expression? You get out of it what you're willing to put in.
You get in what you put in. Yeah.
Finally. Oh my gosh, it's been a long week. I like that philosophy of truly wanting to empower people to live their best life, and that you want to work with people who are truly dedicated on working toward that progress rather than listening to someone who says they want it, but their actions say something different. So what a great philosophy. So if we go back to that experience you had a decade ago when you were nearly paralyzed, you've shared in indirect ways how that propels you in working with your clients, but how does that influence how you work with clients now?
So I learned a couple things from that experience that I try to translate into my relationship with myself and into what I try to teach my clients. I consider myself a teacher before anything else, because I think when you teach people how to help themselves, you're turning them into the magic inside of them, because we all have magic inside of us. We just have to know how to tap into it. So I learned three things. I learned that one, I have to do it on my own. My husband can't do it for me. My mom can't do it for me. My kids can't do it for me. My best friend can't do it for me. I have to do this for myself. I have to be accountable to myself and want to and do it for myself. Two, I learned the importance of boundaries and the importance of boundaries with myself and boundaries with others, because oftentimes our health goes the wrong route because we don't have boundaries with ourselves or with others. And in order to have boundaries, we have to have clarity. We have to have clarity of what are we moving towards? What motivates us? What do we want for ourselves? Oftentimes we get caught in a hamster wheel and we don't know how to get off. And the third thing that I learned that I try to translate into my practice is trust yourself, which is a whole thing in emotional intelligence, is to trust your intuition. And, we have three brains. So we have our thinking brain, we have our heart brain, and then we have our gut brain, which is our intuition. And how do we align the three so that we know when to listen to each one?
It's really quite simple when you explain it. Hard to put into practice, likely, for a lot of people, but I think the roadmap that you offer in being an advocate for people is something that certainly will help guide the way toward a path of a healthier lifestyle. So, Tatiana, our last question, which is my favorite, is you have 1 minute with someone who's stuck and they want to break out. What do you tell them?
I want you to close your eyes. And I want you to, for just 1 minute, imagine if you had a magic wand, if there were no obstacles, if there were no ifs and buts, how would you want to feel? Not what would you want to do, but how would you want to feel? And then do that again, and then do that again. Because doing that shifts your neurology. It literally shifts the focus of your attention, and where we place our attention is where our energy from our heart goes. It's where our whole body will move towards. So self-awareness, self-reflection, self-regulation. Think about how you want to feel, and your actions will start taking you in that direction.
Amazing. Tatiana, such an inspiration. And I'm so thankful that you used the experience, unfortunately, the trauma and your health challenges to propel you to helping others lead a healthier lifestyle. And thank you for being such a fierce advocate.
I want to thank you guys because I actually didn't share my story for almost 10 years. I didn't think anybody would care. And I have to remind myself that me sharing my story is only going to help somebody else. We feel guilty and we feel shame and we feel like I feel sometimes like, why would Carrie and Kelly want to hear about my hard times? And it's because we go into guilt and shame. We go into hiding. So my thanks is to you guys for caring, for listening, for doing what you do.
That's so powerful.
Thank you so much for sharing it.
That was Tatiana Miller, holistic healthcare bridge builder, and this is The Breakout.
Kelly and I are in the business of breaking free, being brave, and living boldly. We're here to inspire you to be the badass you are meant to be. Coaching and consulting is kind of our thing, and we're really good at it. Connect with us at abrachigroup.com.
And don't forget to subscribe to The Breakout so you never miss a new episode. Make sure you're following us on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. And please leave us a review. Reviews help more people find the show, connect with us, and live a more authentic life. I'm Kelly Gunther.
And I'm Dr. Carrie Ulrich. See you next time.